Today we're continuing with my James Bond series with the first Roger Moore film, Live and Let Die, so let's talk about it. Hey everybody, my name is Justin. I love to watch movies. I also love to watch James Bond. If you guys are in the right spot, make sure that subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up and coming videos. Today we're going to talk about the 1973 James Bond film, Live and Let Die. This is directed by Guy Hamilton, and 007 is sent to stop a diabolically brilliant heroin magnate armed with a complex organization and a reliable psychic tarot card reader. Ooh, that plot just in general is very odd. I'm not too attached to the Roger Moore films. I love the Sean Connery movies, and I spent a lot of time watching those films and the Pierce Brosnan movies. I think I've seen all of the Roger Moore films twice now. And I've always regarded him as more of the sillier version of James Bond. Sean Connery is more of that brute James Bond that I've grown up with and I loved watching. So honestly, going into Live and Let Die, I was a little bit worried to see how I would feel about this movie, knowing that I always thought he was silly and it was always comedic. I know some of them are, even him dressed up as a clown. But I was curious about Live and Let Die, going into it with a more open mind. And I do think that Live and Let Die is an entertaining film. I can see why I still think it is more of the sillier versions of the movies. But I really did like Roger Moore's performance in this movie. It's not Sean Connery at all. Sean Connery is more hard and more masculine, whereas Roger Moore was more calm and relaxed. There's a lot of humorous lines throughout the movie that I think were delivered nicely by Roger Moore. The action scenes are filmed very nicely with Roger Moore in it, but he has a way about him that's more calmer and more relaxing for the character. He's swift with his scenes. And every moment that he is in, it's truly believable, and you believe that he is the right man for the job. It's much different from what we got. And the overall tone and story and just the look of the film is much different, but I felt like it was welcomed with Live and Let Die. This movie is all over the place with its locations. We got New York and we got the Caribbean. And along the way, James Bond meets a lot of outlandish people, some really over-the-top villains that are not as iconic as, let's say, as Dr. No or Goldfinger, but do have this certain presence in the film. Geoffrey Holder plays Baron Samedi, who has ties to a voodoo cult. We have a Funko Pop right here of him, if you can see it. It's next to another Roger Moore Funko Pop right here. But this movie surrounds Mr. Big, who is known as a drug lord, and he plans to distribute 2 tons of heroin for free to put rival drug barons out of business and then become a monopoly supplier. It's oddly similar to the Goldfinger storyline, with Goldfinger and destroying all of the gold so his would go up in price. But Mr. Big is later revealed to be the alter ego of Dr. Kanaga, a corrupt Caribbean dictator. There's a lot of people that work for Mr. Big, including Teehee, who is Kanaga's primary henchman, who has a piercer for a hand. I mean, why not? You gotta have a odd henchman, just like Jaws and Oddjob. So you got Teehee, who stands along lines as one of the odd henchmen. But this movie is odd at times. It's entertaining as well. There's so many weird things that are happening within this movie. And James Bond also meets Sheriff J.W. Pepper, who is just as odd as Baron Samedi. And this movie has one of the most iconic James Bond moments. And throughout the movie, we get a lot of comedic one-liners involving alligators and from James Bond. So many times this movie is laughable, but I think that this movie is still entertaining. The villainous plot is not as big as other James Bond movies, and it easily isn't as memorable as well. But I did welcome Roger Moore in the role as James Bond. I like him in this movie. Like I said, he's more calm in this movie. And we get to see James Bond in his house, which we really haven't got to see before in a James Bond movie. The gadgets are sillier in this movie, but it's one of the more tamer James Bond Roger Moore films. It tries to interpret the classic movies with the action and the seduction, but with a more modern take on it, without trying to break what the tradition of James Bond was. There's alligators with stepping stones. J.W. Peppers is shooting off everywhere. There's a thrilling boat chase. There's a lot to keep you interested within this movie. But I could easily see why people don't like these movies. And me going into it and thinking, hey, Roger Moore films, they're silly. I'm really afraid to watch them. And it was a little bit silly at times compared to the other James Bond films that I reviewed for you guys. But it's not bad. I think it's an entertaining film and one of the better Roger Moore films. And I'm curious to watch the other ones. Moonraker, Octopussy, For Your Eyes Only. Those are the ones that I think are some corny ones. So before I give my final thoughts and score on Live and Let Die, make sure to subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more James Bond videos. I'll be reviewing every James Bond movie leading up to No Time to Die. I will be ranking the James Bond movies, ranking the James Bond actors, ranking the villains, ranking the opening sequences. So I got a lot planned for the week of James Bond No Time to Die comes out and after that as well. So make sure to subscribe to my channel so you guys don't miss any of that up and coming videos. And also, Live and Let Die had one of the best opening sequences and one of the more iconic James Bond songs, Live and Let Die, performed by Paul McCartney and Wings. It's an iconic song, and I remember it in Shrek the Third so vividly, but it's a song that you can sing over and over again. So, Live and Let Die, entertaining at times, really corny. The plot is not as strong as other movies, but I do think that Roger Moore is pretty good in the role. He's calm, he's relaxed, and he still gets the job done. I'm going to go ahead and give Live and Let Die a B. Thank you guys for checking my review for Live and Let Die. We got plenty more Roger Moore films to talk about, so make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. My name is Just Watch Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.